Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monthroth the Cube. With me today, I've got Bernard,
Bern.
Berniferous,
Any one of those. I've been called worse, but yeah, that's fine.
Burning Stone. I don't know. What is okay? First question: what's Bern short for? Seems kind of obvious, but why not?
Bernardo.
Bernardo.
Yeah.
Okay. Second question: how does one pronounce your last name?
Direito. It's probably the easiest way. Yep.
Is that the anglicized way? How would you
Yeah.
actually say it?
Direito.
Direito.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
the way
cool.
it should be said. It's easy.
Is that a Spanish name?
It is Spanish, yeah. So, and funniest thing is my family. So my parents didn't really like me much because my brother's names are Tony and Dave. My sister is Maz, and I'm Bernardo. So I think they just thought the last one will just with that and give him the worst one.
Are you the youngest?
I am the youngest, yeah, 4.
What's the age range between you and your siblings?
2.5, 7, and 9. So my sister's the oldest.
Okay. I mean, maybe you can see it the other way around. They loved you the most because you're the miracle child at the end, and they gave you the best name.
I don't know. It's not the best name growing up, trust me.
I mean, I've got that joke with my younger sister. So my name, Dale,
Yeah.
pretty standard, pretty common. Spelled with a Y, kind of annoying. Her name is Akila, which is a beautiful,
Lovely.
exotic name.
Yeah.
I'm just like, parents, why has she got a very cool, exotic name? Why have I got Dale? You know what I mean? It's not...
It's normally the Godfather or something like that.
Right. Okay, let's get down to business, all right? So
Good.
you have had an extensive career in software sales, procurement, IT stuff. Is that fair to say?
Correct. Yeah. All software.
Okay, I want to take you back, way back into time.
Oh, God.
The year's 1999. Will Smith was still cool. People thought planes might fall out of the sky, and you were an inside sales manager at Mentor.
That's it.
What is an inside sales manager? What's inside sales versus outside sales? I think sales versus sales.
Yeah, so it's internal basically. So Mentor was a direct marketing company. So people like Cisco, Microsoft, those kind of things would hire or outsource their telemarketing to Mentor.
Okay.
And I ran a team. I started off as a telemarketer because back in college, I was selling double glazing windows over the phone.
Love it.
So I was ruining people's evenings by calling them up, asking if they want a conservatory. And I got pretty good at it. So I thought, I'm all right over the phone. Didn't go to uni, decided to go straight into work. Mentor was my opportunity to do that telemarketing, and then grew to be a manager and looked after a team where we had to make 120 calls a day.
That's a lot of calls.
Yeah, book minimum of 3 appointments per day, per person.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's kind of full on. You know that part in what's it called? It's the Will Smith film where he's a trader or becoming a trader. He doesn't hang up the phone and all of that. It's basically that.
I know which film you mean, but I can't. The name eludes me as well.
Yeah,
Apologies.
Pursuit
I
of
know what you mean.
Happiness.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you mind if I dig into that a little bit better? Because like
Sure.
you mentioned being a telesales agent specifically for double glazing. That has negative stereotypes for many people across the UK. But you said you're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Can you solidify or explain what made you good at it?
When you're calling someone, you would start work at 5:30 in the evening. Do you know what I mean? So you're waiting for people to get home, and all people want to do is either sit there, have their dinner, watch football, watch, Coronation Street or EastEnders back in those days, and so on, that they still do. You have really you have really 15 to 20 seconds to kind of make an impression. So you have to have that know-how on how to kind of make it sound like you're not selling double glazed windows in those first 20 seconds. I am calling from Anglian Windows. They're just going to hang up from you. You have to make a kind of impression. And that's, I've taken that throughout my whole career. The first impressions are always kind of key. The first 30 seconds to a minute in any meeting face-to-face or over the phone are key. If you don't get that right, people aren't going to be interested. So it was that really helped me in those first parts. So, and that's what I got really good at, and that opened people up to, wanting a free quotation of a double glazed window or door or a conservatory.
Okay, cool. Massive tangent question. Behind you, there seems to be like a bookcase with the letters SM behind you. Are the letters BD around somewhere?
They are. They're behind it. They're behind it. Yes. I've got no. So I've got all the initials of my kids and stuff. So they're in the background. So
okay.
But this is supposed to be my office in the garage, which I converted during COVID, half of it, and now it's just used more as storage for the kids to dump all their stuff in. So I've got a few files.
That sounds about right.
But that's about it. The rest is all colouring in and cutting out stuff, and whatever they don't announce anymore, I have to store it.
And I'm intrigued. So the viewers left. So behind your head, what is behind you? There's a picture on the wall. Is that?
Yeah, that's
like a
because obviously I'm not very good at painting. That's paint by numbers, which I started during COVID and still haven't finished. And it's Boba Fett.
Oh, are you a Star Wars fan?
Who isn't?
Well, you say that controversially. I am a geek. I think it's well known. I am not a huge Star Wars fan. I don't want to offend you. I don't want to insult you. X-wings are cool, but other than that,
I'll go in.
I know. I'm a massive disappointment. Like, okay, some people will say Star Wars versus Star Trek, and if you're a true geek, you like both.
Yes.
And I appreciate Star Wars for its place in the pantheon. It's the archetype. So many things have copied it, emulated it, but I've just never gotten into the world. I've never gone, I love it enough.
Yeah, I think it's just I'm just massive fan of everything to do with Star Wars. It's brilliant. It's just when you're a kid growing up and seeing Darth Vader for the first time, you kind of, you get scared, and that's that iconic thing. That's where, I think Star Trek for me, still loved it, but it's kind of didn't have that. You had some baddies, but there was a few too many. This was one baddie. Do you know what I mean? And an empire, and then a galaxy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was just that's what I did. I just loved it. So
now I think the best way I've heard it described is Star Wars is science fantasy and Star Trek is science fiction. Like one's like trying to be a bit more real, whereas Star Wars is the grandeur, like you say, the empire, the kind of ultimate baddie. I get that. Which Star Wars film is your favorite film?
Empire Strikes Back. Got to be.
And okay, of all the races within Star Wars, which race is your favorite and why?
The Mandalorians, just because the Mandalorian series is absolutely awesome. And just the way they are, a whole family and protection and everything else. Boba Fett, obviously, who wasn't actually a Mandalorian. I think that is probably the best.
Okay. Again, going to change gears again. Fast forward a little bit.
Yep.
Bringing out the geekiness. Fast forward, so it's 2014, and you worked for a company called Hydra. Now, any geek will know that's a red flag.
It. Massive red
flag. And I'm assuming you're geeky enough to know why is that a red flag? Explain to everybody why you may have worked for the world's most evil organization.
You cut off one head and two more grow back. It is, so Hydra management. So back in the day, I used to work in project management, and Hydra management provided a software that did project management, but more scenario planning. So you could do what if scenarios. So, and it was a small business based out in Farnborough, which is down the road from where I live. And they wanted, a salesperson to come in and start selling their software, because I had done it for a company called CA Technologies for their Clarity product. Projects, everybody does projects. So it's a massive business, it's a massive revenue, and that's why Hydra were there. I was worried when I looked at Hydra management and I thought we should have played on it more when we went to exhibitions and had Captain America stuff like that. We should have played on it a lot more than what we did.
I mean, in saying that, in 2014, was the MCU still as big as it is now? Like, would people have got it, do you think?
I think,
or would it have been too niche?
Yeah, I think people would have still got it. They would have seen it. I think because when was Avengers? That was probably in and around that time. It's probably just before it. 2012, probably gone on for about 10, 12 years.
I think you're right. Actually, yeah, I think yeah, it would have been one of the Hulk revamps, or a Spider-Man film would have been out by then at some point. Yeah, you're right.
So,
all right.
I think we should have played on it a lot more. What marketing doesn't like that? Do you know what I mean? You go to a Gartner event or a Caltex and they got Marvel stuff going on, and you're called Hydra. People are just going to be drawn. Marketing.
I mean, no comment. I'm not going to comment on what marketing do and don't do, because they pay the big bucks for a reason.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. Let's fast forward a little bit. Let's address the elephant in the room. You also worked for Sage, a massive fintech company, right?
Yep.
Before the term fintech was there, Sage was there. No, like
everybody knows today. Is Sage. The funniest thing is I worked for a company called CA, which were a massive American corporation and billions of dollars. And I always wanted, and then I went into kind of fintechs and small businesses, and I always wanted to get back to a big corporate business. And Sage, you know, they've always been that market leader. Now, yes, you know, with everything from tax to, you know, accountancy to payroll to everything from small businesses to enterprise businesses. And they've always been that market leader. And they're still, if I'm not wrong, they're still the only UK FTSE 100 business that was born from the UK. So, business help.
I'm intrigued.
Started off in Newcastle in 1981.
Yep.
By 3 guys up in Newcastle, and so it's just grown now. You know, moving away from Sage after almost 6 years was a difficult decision, and everybody keeps, you know, when I was there, it's, you know, who is it? Sage, Zero, QuickBooks, and you know, you had all the others that would come in and cash flow and so on, and it was always which one was better. Now, the way I always looked at it, from my personal opinion, was I used to go in and see accountants, and I remember one accountant that said to me once, he goes, I've got the Zero stickers on the wall, do you know what I mean? And I've got my certification and we're a gold partner. But underneath, my socks and pants are still green from Sage. And I think that's the core with a lot of accountancies for the desktop and the client management business and the day-to-day bookkeeping, payroll, tax. I don't think there's anything better when it comes to cloud accountancy. You know, then the Zeros and the QuickBooks came in. Sage released a product that wasn't quite good enough when they first went into the cloud. Sage 1.
Yep.
And
I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'm not saying anything, but I just remember.
Yeah, exactly. And what it was, and I think what Zero did really well was, we're not Sage. That's what they did really well. We're not Sage. And so people moved to the cloud, and they grew and grew and grew. And they do, you know, they're excellent business when it comes to cloud solutions and stuff. And Sage are trying to get that market back, and they're pegging away from it. Obviously, with Sage Business Cloud Accounting, and obviously you're also with Sage, the acquisitions that they made some really good acquisitions, from Auto Entry to Go Proposal, Futurely. Really good, impactful.
Just to be clear, you no longer work for Sage.
I know.
Being paid to endorse
I know,
them.
yeah.
Right?
But the same thing, I can't help it, you know, after 6 years. But the same thing, you look at what Zero did as well with HubDoc and Workflow Max and people like that, and the business that they partner with, they've done it in the right way. They opened their API and they let people, you know, you can connect almost any app to Zero, and they're the first people that people want to connect to. And I think that's.
Do you mind if I take it back a step real quick? You earlier, before, like 2 minutes ago, before that, you mentioned that you wanted to, when you've gone from Hydra, you wanted to look for another big corporate to work in. Is there any particular reason for that? Like, why do you prefer working in bigger corporates as opposed to the SME space?
I think back so I joined Sage when I was 35. And what it was is I worked for a lot of small businesses. And the good thing about small businesses is they make decisions quick. But the problem with small businesses is sometimes you might get a CEO at the time, for example, like at Hydra, you would get a CEO that built up a business, and that's how, and the way they've been selling it is the way that you've just got to keep moving. And the way that you promote the product is the only way that you can continue to do it. They wouldn't take advice on the new ways of doing it. And that's one of the things that I've learned joining Banker was, you surround yourself by people that kind of help you make some good decisions and take on their advice, because they're the experts. You're hiring them to be the experts, and you take on their advice and you just go down your own vision and your own tunnel to say, no, this is the way we're doing it. I'm not going to listen to anything else. And I think that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get back into that corporate world where those decisions were made. Product marketing will come out and say, this is what we're doing. And, almost kind of become a number and guarantee my paycheck. Because that's the other thing, working for small fintechs, you would never, especially in sales, you would never guarantee your paycheck if the lights weren't on and so on. So it's always that kind of difficulty of knowing what's going to happen month to month.
Okay, so a bit of a follow-up question from that. First of all, for the uninitiated, 2 questions. How would you define a smaller business? Is it in terms of turnover? And if so, what kind of number is that? I know other people know, but it's just good to kind of eke these things out.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's a couple of things. I think it's turnover, revenue, maybe, up to, you've got micro businesses, because there's differences, isn't it? You've got micro businesses that, are just on the VAT threshold and so on and so forth, and then one-man bands and so on, that are looking after themselves. It then grows, I reckon it grows in employee size to 5, to then 10, 20, and you start getting into the medium and into the millions. Do you see what I mean? I think it works in 2 ways. From a small business, might have the small business mentality of doing lots of revenue, but they're only 5 people.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Or it might have 40 people, but do the same amount of revenue. It might be still classed as a small business. But I think anything from over $1 million, you're probably looking into, you're not a small business. You're probably looking into the medium, from my eyes. And then, the amount of people.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And the follow-up question I wanted to do as well, where you've worked in software sales for so long and then fintech for quite a while, what advice would you give to someone, I don't know, in their early 20s, mid-20s, maybe coming into this profession, looking to work within fintech, specifically sales? What should they look for in a place to work? What should they not look for? What are the red flags? Any advice in that area? And I know that's a very wide question, but I think, please humour me.
For me, when I started off, it was more about the money. I always got to the point, especially in sales, that however old I was, especially in my 20s, I wanted to be earning more than what my age was. So if I was 25, I wanted to be on 30 grand a year. Do you know what I mean? And I always looked at the money. I think for me now, if I'm going back and giving advice to people, it'll be from a case of your manager and the people you report into is critical. I'd look at that, the vision of those people, because one of the things I would always do is, go into a job, having conversation and the interviews and so on, and believing in something, and then thinking, actually, after being in the job for 6 months, you're not really getting on with that manager. You're not getting on with the vision of the CEO or the MD or whoever it was, and you just end up being unhappy. From my point of view, it will be a case of look at the people that are managing it. Can they help you progress your career? Is that business there to help you progress it? Is it there to say, just get the sales in and that's it? As long as you get the sales in, we don't care. Or is it get the sales in, but we'll help you progress. We'll help you grow. You believe in what they're saying, and they're giving you every opportunity to be the person you want to be. And like a friend of mine, Rob, today was was talking about it, and he said, if you're a happy employee and you're happy in your job, as a manager, you're getting the best version of that person. You make them happy in your job, you're getting the best version of that person. And that's critical. It's that happiness. And that's what Sage was always about in my eyes when I did work there for so long, and why it was so difficult to leave was the people that were there. The people made that job. The people, from the management to the product marketing team, that friends and the colleagues. It was always a good place to work and just be happy.
So when you talk about colleagues, whenever I think of Sage, there is one poster child that I think of, Chris Downing. Like, did you guys ever work closely together? Because that man is everyone's social media. He's at every accounting event. He's always doing his dad dancing. Like, what's it like working with him? Did you actually ever work with him directly, or?
I did a lot of the time. Chris and I worked together, at certain exhibitions and so on. From my point of view, the bloke is a legend when it comes to knowing the accountancy industry, not just from his background of being an accountant and where he was. He really understands what an accountancy needs, and I kind of see that same thing in you. He looks at technology and he looks at efficiencies, and he was always there to kind of help. Whenever I kind of had I'd often kind of send him an email or a Teams message to say, I'm struggling with this accountant because of X. Is there any way that you can kind of help me unlock certain questions that might kind of get me into that? And he would always provide that help, and he would provide that industry knowledge. I just wouldn't be able to get, and that's his job. He's great at that. He's great with accountants, great at speaking, and he's great at kind of promotion and so on. But at the same time, the stuff he comes out with, and the actual presentation that he creates, whenever we did roadshows, a lot of it came from him, in the knowledge and time frames and so on. And we just have to mirror that. And that's what I think he gets. And he's just all round guys. Just great to be around. So.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. And also, I just want to drill down on one tiny thing. Did you just liken me to him? Did you say I'm similar to him in that regard? If you do, that's a massive compliment. I'll take it.
Good.
I'll take it.
Thank God. But no, it's that kind of technology agnostic. Do you know what I mean? It's not, yes, I've mentioned Sage a lot, Xero and so on. When I met you for the first time at KR, it was that whole point of, how can I help this business? Is there a technology that will help me with this business? And should we only be using one? No. Should we use something that helps every single? Because not one solution is going to help every single customer. Do you see what I mean? You're going to have multiple solutions for that right size of business, or that right customer, or the right person that walks in. And that's what I got from you. And that's the same that I get from Chris. Is everybody's different, and every client that you're going to have is completely different. So what technology fits that client? And that was always a good thing.
Yeah, it's a tricky one for KR, and this is my observation speaking to other kind of mid-tier firms, so from 11 to maybe 50. Right, if you are a very small firm, a startup challenger firm, as it were, I'll give a shout out to Golding Accountancy and Gravitate, great guys. They can have a fantastic zero-only policy. They've only ever onboarded clients of that nature. If you're a larger company, top 5, top 10, you can literally throw resource and have a whole Sage department, a whole Xero department. I think one of the difficulties for the mid-tier firms like KR is we have the ability or potential to be software agnostic, but we also have several legacy clients, and actually we need to work on our way of having a standardized approach and metric and then branch off. This is my observation and opinion, and hopefully I'm not giving away too many internal secrets. That's the way I see it.
I also believe that when you get to that kind of mid-tier firm, or even the larger firms and so on, the problem you have is, what I believe is, people are kind of trained by the person that was there before. Do you know what I mean? And training with technology has to be done on a constant basis. because especially in cloud products from zero, something's released almost every other week. I mean, once a month. Yep. And it's maybe something that will help 10% of your clients and you don't even realize. And also the same way that you're trained, you're always trained by that last person that was there before. And they did it there. So you're picking up their bad habits at the same time because that's the way they taught you. And then someone comes in and the amount of times that I'd sit there and have conversations about a product and they'll go, well, you can't do this. And it's like, well, we can. Oh, well, how long's that been now? 2 years? They're like, oh, look, the first thing we need to do is train everybody up. But also, maybe it's a point you get those clients, those companies that say, we have an agreement with Xero. But yet there might be people, the bookkeepers and stuff, that I like using Sage, so I'm going to do this on Sage. And then you're having that internal fight of why is that client not on Xero? Why is that on Sage? Or why is that client not on QuickBooks? Because I find it easier. And that's what you've got to do. As well as you said, those legacy clients, you're managing between those kind of newer clients and those legacy clients. It's a difficult place to be. And that's what I admired about you, Dale, when it came into it, because you were trying to change that. You were trying to kind of, okay, let's understand what these guys are doing and let's understand what technology can actually help everybody in our.
Oh, thank you, man. You're making me blush. You're making me sound really good. But no, it's how my brain works. It's how I was taught when it comes to web development. Like you can't be super prescriptive, but you actually got to understand the root cause of the problem first.
Yeah.
Because if you just keep putting stuff on top, we see it all the time in smaller businesses, right? Someone has an idea, there's a problem within the business, they do minimal research, they pull something in, usually tech, and they don't put it in properly, and then they wonder why it hasn't solved the problem, and the real issue was something that was outside the tech. That's my biggest thing. So yeah,
I remember hearing one
working with clients
years ago that on a research, when people were doing kind of research for insurance or anything like that, you kind of only look at the first three things that pop up on Google, and you never go further down. So the research is only really done on 1% of what's available out there. And I think it's the same in businesses. Business go, well, we'll do this research and we'll do it to these three businesses because that's what someone mentioned or someone knows. And they spend short time in the research and loads of times in the development. But if you did more time in the research, your development will be a lot shorter. So
100% agreed. And this is where good salespeople and account managers come into play. So Crescent Moves now have like a vetting process, right? We have an issue, we need a problem to solve it. We'll invite companies to tender, and I kid you not, working with some of my colleagues in different offices, some of the senior managers, we will send out an invitation to tender, and sometimes the product that we thought would look best based on the website and some of the initial review we've done, they don't get it. Why not? Because their salesperson doesn't come back to us. Like, how absurd is that? That's like your one job. We literally, I give salespeople as much discovery as possible. We need this. We think the problem's this. Can you help us? Can you do this? And I kid you not, it baffles me with some of the fintech suppliers where they just don't get back to us. I'm just like, we're like a £60 million turnover company would happily give you a 3-year contract.
Exactly.
We have to do is answer your email. Sorry, but going on a bit of a rant there. But it's not difficult, in my opinion, to do account management and sales. Just be diligent.
Yeah, there's that.
Sorry.
You're 100% right. But it's also kind of, even if it's just a reply to say, I don't think we can fulfill this. Thank you very much. Do you know what I mean? At least you know where you stand, rather than having to wait for that deadline. Do you know what I mean? And waiting, and you're going, well, we need to wait for everybody to come back. If you've got all those replies, you can then start your next process after. Do you see what I mean? And I think you're right. It's getting back to people and responding is key. And I also think, moving on top of that, a lot of people hide behind emails. Sometimes when a call, is better. Yes, email confirms stuff, but some people, I've seen so many salespeople that try and sell just through email, and they're like, oh, well, they're not getting back to me, they're not responding. That's probably because they've got 500 emails from their clients in their inbox, and you're that one right.
I don't want to sound too old school, but for me, it's can I go sit down with that person and talk to them face to face? I know it sounds really old school, But literally talking to someone, meeting them face to face, and having a conversation over lunch, over a coffee,
100%.
possibly the most powerful tool you
Yeah.
can do, whenever that's winning clients or just building relationships.
That's it.
But
That's
just me.
That's the key. And go back to the double glazing windows. I'd get an appointment, and then the sales guy would turn up, and it'd be, it wouldn't be what I had said on the phone. It'd be kind of completely different, and they're just trying to sell something to get something here. I've seen it a lot. I've seen that a lot in my time, where people would book appointments, and then salespeople would go in, and it would be completely different conversation that the client didn't want to go down, but because the salesperson is thinking about their target and thinking about what's the easiest thing to sell here, rather than, well, the client had this problem, needs this solution. Talk about that. Talk about their problem. And one thing I learned in the kind of sales academy that I was put through was a phrase on press on that bruise. When you ask a question, saying where this is, this is the problem I've got. A lot of people will ask a question, you get the answer, and then just move on. As where if you ask a question, you get an answer. Dive more into that answer. Ask more questions about that. Press on that bruise when you hear it. That I've got this problem. Don't just go, oh, okay, right, next question. What else you do here? And you're like, well, you just completely missed. They've got this fire going in the background, and you can help putting it out by just asking more questions about it and really diving into it. Because a lot of the time accountants have so much to think about. The accountancy industry is driven by regulation changes. Do you know what I mean? And they've got so much to think about. Making tax digital for income tax was going to be a big thing. People kind of, thank God it's delayed to 2026 and so on and so forth. And they had that.
Well, you say thank God. There are some pros and cons to that happening. Like that screwed over a lot of fintech suppliers.
Exactly.
Everybody.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But at the same point, a lot of people, even when MTD was happening for the first time in 2018, 2019, it was a case of, I've got a year to wait. It's coming in 2 years. I can wait. And it's like, well, why aren't you preparing now? Be prepared now, so you're not running around. And when I was talking about making tax digital for income tax, it was always, well, it's 2 years away now. And it's like, yeah, don't you remember how much you were running around in the first MTD for that, and how crazy things were because you were trying to get stuff done because you left it to the last minute? You sure you want to do that again? And they're like, I'll deal with it when it comes. It might even be delayed again. You're like, okay.
Can I ask you a controversial question?
Always.
I mean, you can choose to pass. In your experience within Sage, fintech, because you've got over like a decade, 15 years experience in this kind of field, what's the best thing about the industry and what's the worst thing about the industry?
What, the accountancy industry?
The accountancy industry / fintech.
The best thing from a salesperson point of view, regulation changes. Because regulation drives accountancy. So whenever there was a regulation change, it drives sales. So, and you could always use that in your sales methods to get people to kind of move forward. Do you see what I mean? So the accountancy industry is constantly changing, right? And also,
and the
worst thing is accountants struggle to change. Accountants struggle with change management massively, and they're scared of change. And
do you think that's more so than other sectors you've worked in?
Yes, massively, because I've been working in this way, and it's and I've grown this accountancy firm from X to X. Do you know what I mean? And it's I know the way this should work, and I've been doing this for years. I know it better than you. You're not an accountant. I'm like, no, you're right. But and you get people that are just so against, and this comes from my project management days. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Change management is massive in every part of the business, and one of the problems that you would always get is trying to implement something new when not everybody was bought into that vision. And if you have that, what's going to happen is you're going to have a couple of people that are going to go, oh, this is crap. This is terrible. That's not working. And then suddenly it starts to spread and spread and spread. And then the project ultimately fails. If you've got a vision and you want to implement that vision, you have to make sure that everybody's got that buy-in. And that change management aspect from employees is probably the key thing that I'd love to get into when it comes to an accountancy practice. And the conversation that I talk about, it's, who are the best change, who are the easiest ones, who love technology and want that to change, and who are the worst, and who doesn't want to change, who thinks that the way I've been doing this is the right way and it will continue that way and I don't need to. It's like, well, okay, so let's deal with those two. So change management and then regulation changes.
Oh, cool. Also, we've got a comment. Andre Lake, absolutely spot on, Bernardo. How do you know Andre?
I worked with Andre at Sage. He joined probably about a year and a bit ago at Sage when I was there, and helped onboard him a bit. So yeah, he's a quality guy. Andre was just, the good thing about Andre is he really wanted to kind of just learn and just constantly asking questions and wanting to learn and wanting to get better and so on. So it's great working with Andre.
Cool. Did you ever work with James Marshall when he was at Sage?
No.
No. Okay, cool. So that was a very non sequitur question. I was just thinking of people that I know that have worked at Sage. That's very random. Also, thank you for answering my somewhat difficult question. What's the best, what's the worst? Yeah. And not putting words into your mouth, but what you said about the worst part of accountancy and change, it sounds similar to what you said you dislike about smaller businesses. You mentioned that you might have a CEO who's done it a certain way, unwilling to listen. And I mean, it sounds like that actually accountants kind of, some of them have that mentality. Not all of them, because again, there are some radical accountants out there who are just disrupting the whole market. Yeah. Props to them. But that's what it sounded like. It sounded like that some accountants might have a smaller business mentality when it comes to change.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And as I said, they're kind of set in their ways, and a lot of people, let's take the simplistic part of accountancy, and probably the easiest part that I always used to talk about, bank fees. Okay? And people would use, I'd say to lots of accountants, and this is from desktop to cloud, okay, and people were worried about the cloud and so on, and I'd say to them, how many clients have you got on cloud software that are connected to the bank? And they were like, oh, every single one of them, 99%. Okay, well, how many of those accountants that are on desktop and not connected to a bank? And they're like, oh, all of them. And you're kind of then in the position of like, okay, so you've got two choices here. Why aren't you connecting your clients to a bank feed in Sage 50 or desktop or whatever desktop software when it can do it? B, if you don't want to do that, why aren't you moving more people to the cloud? Because the efficiency just from getting a bank feed and not manually typing stuff up, it's massive. And it's a simple efficiency change that you can make. And you're already seeing benefits from those cloud clients that you got connected to the bank. And then using things like Next and auto entry and so on to help your business. So it was always trying to get them to see it from a simplistic point of view of something as simple as bank fees. Do you see what I mean? And that's the way I kind of use position.
Oh, thank you for sharing that knowledge. We're going to fast forward a little bit. We're going to go to your current role. So you left Sage after being there for 6 years, and you've gone from a management role to a leadership role. So first question is, where are you working now?
So working for a company called BankUp, which are part of the Unified Post Group. And BankUp provide e-invoicing solution, automation, signature, document management, and payments.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is e-invoicing?
So there's a regulation that's coming into the EU by 2028, and it's called the e-invoicing regulation. Okay, and what that basically means is trying to bridge the gap, the VAT gap to government. Okay, so what happens is, say for example, in Belgium, the government used something called PEPAL. Okay, every accountant.
Sorry, could you repeat that just for? I guess I didn't quite hear that. They use something called
PEPAL.
PEPAL.
PPOL. Okay, and that's their government, like HMRC basically, and that's their own internal government technology, right? So all accountancy products have to connect to PEPAL to submit VAT returns and so on, right?
Makes sense.
PEPAL only accept one type of format of invoicing, okay, and that's called UBL, right? So here, HMRC, they accept PDF. In the UK, PDF is king. Right. Now, if you imagine to keep it simple, PDF France, PDF Germany, PDF UK, right? You send, what's going to happen is France will have their own format, PDF France, and you have you're trying to send an invoice to the UK, to a French business, Either A, you have to send that in PDF France, okay, or you send it in a UK version of PDF, and the French business has to convert that into their own format. Okay. So
I'm not gonna lie, this is all news to me. I thought all PDFs were the same.
Yes, but imagine there's different formats. So France, in Belgium they use UBL, right? So if I send an invoice as a PDF to a Belgian company, right? They can't accept a PDF invoice. Well, they can accept it, but they have to change it. They have to reformat it to link into their accountancy software, right? So someone's got to make that change. Now, Belgium, they're going to create an invoice, and it's only going to be in UBL. So you're going to, as a UK business, you're going to get a UBL format, and you're not going to be able to open it. Okay? So what you're going to have to do is try and buy a piece of software that can reformat it, and then print it off, scan it as a PDF, and then send it into auto entry as an example, or Dext, or HubDoc, whatever it's going to be, and then that goes into your accounting software.
Probably not HubDoc.
Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't make jokes like that. Sorry.
But so what our platform does, right? So the problem you're going to have is when, in France, it's going to be by 2025 or 2026. Okay. So that means any invoices that are going to go to a French business, they're going to have their own format, which is countrywide. So that means either I have to send it in their format, or I send it in PDF, and they have to change it. But at the same point, they're going to send me an invoice in just their format, whatever format they use, UBL as it, or X Factor they call it, right? How am I going to open that invoice to read it?
I mean, I assume the answer is going to be use BankUp.
Obviously. So what we're able to do is the automation.
I see you. I see you. I see you. Yeah.
I basically what our product is you'll be able to import any format, upload any format into our automation tool, and export it into any format. So regardless if you're working with 10 different European countries and you've got 10 different formats, you'll be able to put all 10 into our software and export all 10 into a PDF to send it straight to your accountancy product.
I should make a commission code link, go to Dale Rodriguez BankUp, get 10% off, and I get some cut because it's some good sales promo. I say it's not that great. To be honest, I only have 100 people that watch this at a time, so it's not tons of people are watching this.
Yeah.
If I thousands of followers, then fine. Okay, let's.
One person. That's all I need.
I'm going to change gears again because that was an excellent sales spiel. No, it wasn't a spiel. I know. I asked you about your business and what you do. We will go back to that, but I like to be silly sometimes. First question: do you eat meat or are you a vegan?
No meat. You're excited to meet that.
Okay. Okay. So, second question: if you had to eat one animal for the rest of your life, forsaking all others, What meat/animal are you choosing?
Beef.
You'd pick beef.
So
no KFC, no McDonald's chicken burgers. You can only have beef.
Yeah, because you can make so many different types of food with it. From moussaka, from bolognese, from steaks, burgers. You've got so many different options there. Even the Costco beefs.
Good answer.
Hot dogs. They're 100% beef.
Yep.
So you can make hot dogs out of them. So yeah, there's beef will probably be.
Fair play. I like the way you answered that so quickly, and thank you for humouring me, by the way, because I know that's a dumb question. Okay, let's bring it back to work again.
Yep.
So you've gone from, like I said, like a management kind of field sales role to a leadership role. What was the biggest change for you? Because talking before we got started, you mentioned that going from management to leadership is different. So what changed?
Yes, so I think the difference is when you're the key thing that I think when you're a manager, the business has these goals. Here's some targets. Here's some KPIs. You've got to try and motivate your team to achieve those KPIs and hit that target. Okay, and that motivational piece is key at being a manager. It's a really important role to get people and to train people up to kind of achieve those goals, and everybody walking in and heading in the right direction. With leadership, what I believe is sometimes I have a vision of how the business work, and sometimes I'm the only person that has that vision, and I've got to project that vision onto everybody within the business, not just sales, but for support, to marketing, to product development, and so on. And it's managing all of those people to see the vision, why I have this vision, and it's to get them on board. So it's not just here's a sales team, it's now an entire business and managing those people to all get on board and follow the same kind of road that I want to be on and I feel. And then that goes back to, when we were saying that work for a small fintech, and sometimes the CEO has this vision, it's the only way it should be done. But the people that I hire, it's getting that knowledge from them to say, I see your vision, but I think we should do this. It's like, let's go with it.
How did you learn that skill set, or was it a trial by fire?
Learned it from listening to people in those positions or that have been in those positions. A friend of mine called Rob Thomas, who's helped me a lot in my career in getting to this kind of position that I'm in. My brothers, who are kind of commercial directors and directors in businesses, older brothers, senior director in Disco. Listening to those types of people, the people that's working at Sage and all, the people that I've worked with and those directors that I've worked with before taking this role. I called one of the directors up at one of my previous roles at Rolter, and he just goes, right, look at this, do this, this is the best thing to do. And he taught me so much when I was kind of younger, moving up into this field sales role.
Yep.
He gave a lot of vision. So it's listening to those people and then taking on to their advice, and then just using my personality.
Okay.
Critical.
Okay. No, that seems fair. You have a lovely personality. I like speaking to you. Can I drill down a little bit more on that? So you said you spoke to other people who are commercial directors, managing directors, and you said they gave you bits of advice. Are there any one or two snippets that they gave you that you could share with others? So again, could you pay it forward? Is there anything you remember your brothers telling you, or that commercial director from Reuters? What were there little nuggets, or is it too broad? You can't just digest.
No, I think some of them were in the hiring process. Is when you hire people that you feel are going to give you insight, but kind of are not just there to just make money or just get their paycheck. They're there to really help grow the business. Hire people that that are not yes people. Yes, boss, I'll go and do this. Hire people that are really gonna challenge you and listen to you, and kind of you can listen to them. Hire people that aren't always the same as you. didn't want people that were just the same as I was, because I'm already here. Do you know what I mean? I need people that are different, that think differently, that can help me, because I'm still learning. As a leader, I'm still learning. And it's those people are going to help me learn and help me grow and help this business grow. So that was kind of point number one. Some people have said there's no friends in management. And I'm completely against that in my version. I believe that, as I go back to, if their people are happy in their jobs, you're going to get the best version of themselves. I really believe that, building up that friendship, and that's what helped me at Sage for so many years. It's the people around me, the kind of family that you build, and so on, and the friends. So I don't believe in there's no friends in management. And the key thing is less is more. I learned that from a colleague at Sage.
Please explain. So less is more. What do you mean?
A lot of the time, especially in sales or when talking to senior management and stuff, I'd kind of explain something, but then kind of try and give them every detail and War and Peace. And it's almost like, say your piece, say what you need to do, and then shush. And the way I learned that was from a colleague of mine called Mason, who is an absolute brilliant guy, one of my really good friends.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there. Who was your colleague? Sorry.
Right. And this guy, we were walking out he told me this story that he was walking out with his manager and came out of London Bridge Station, walking down the hill, and the lady asked him, where's the train station? And instead of just pointing just that way, he started explaining everything that was going to happen. Go past here, there's this monument, you'll see this pub, you'll see the Shard, you'll see this, rather than just going, just up that hill. And his manager even said to him, less is more. Even I got confused of where we were, and I'd just come out of the station. So he was always great. And we'll be in a car sometimes, and he'll be going, oh, well, that building there, that was done from this. And, there's a history behind this and all of that kind of stuff. And you're like, what's the building name? Where are we going? So less is more was always critical for me.
Okay. Can I ask you another mean question?
Yeah.
Who are Bankup's main competitors?
Bankup's main competitors. So it's kind of difficult. If you go from an automation piece, there's auto entry and Dex. So, but the problem with them is they can only do certain formats. We can do every format. Another sales. DocuSign, obviously, who are the biggest. They're probably one of our main competitors when it comes to e-signature. And then any kind of cloud document management solution. So, a SharePoint, OneDrive, Google Docs, those kind of people are the others that are kind of our competitors. As where, if you want all of that in one system, we don't have a competitor. And then we've got payments on the side. So we do it all.
Okay. Like automated accounts payable? I know. I think, Bern, you may have frozen, or maybe I've frozen. I don't know.
We were going so well.
For a minute. Okay, no, I think you're back. We were going so well. I just got that bit.
Yeah, it was going so well. It was going all right. Now 8 minutes left, and it decides to cut off. But yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah. So they're our main competitors. If anyone got most of that.
Okay. I think so. I mean, just to recap, just in case they didn't. Dex, auto entry, /Bank. You mentioned document storage. You mentioned e-signatures, and you mentioned accounts payable as well, right?
Yes.
I was frozen again. Or is that a tactical freeze? Are you pretending to not big up your competitors?
Yeah, that's it. Knowledge.
Okay. No, man. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me. Before we drop off, two things.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me? And do you have one kind of nugget or bombshell you want to finish on?
One nugget or bombshell. Question for you, maybe. What is it that you want accountants to do more of that they don't do? So, is there something that you think in the industry that they just don't do enough of, and you think that will really help the industry grow?
Okay, I want to say something deep and insightful that no other person said before, but that's unlikely. For me, I wish accountants were better at selling or displaying their value to their clients, whether that's their technical ability or what they actually do. Because I think a lot of business owners don't realize the difference between a subpar accountant, an okay accountant, and a brilliant accountant. And there are lots of different reasons to make someone subpar, okay, and amazing. And if accountants in general, the whole UK, even America, even the world, actually explained, actually, this is kind of what we do, and this is the knowledge that I have, and the reason why I have that knowledge is why you pay me. Because in my mind, accountancy is a lot of similarities and parallels to lawyers, right? And people will go to a lawyer and pay a higher fee because they know this person knows this stuff. But for some reason, clients don't see that in accountants. I don't know how this can be changed, but actually, when you pay a bigger fee for a certain accountant, it's because actually they are one of the authorities in that area and you're paying the big bucks. Yes, you pay more, but it pays dividends or pays in returns because of their knowledge and skill.
Yeah.
I think that's something that the industry needs to be better at. Did that make sense?
Yeah, because I think you're right. It's just the accountants have so much knowledge and advice that they can give, and they don't display enough.
Agreed.
So yeah, I think you're 100% right.
And I'm someone who's seen it as from the other side as a client of an accountant, and I can see the difference between a subpar accountant, someone who doesn't do what they're supposed to be doing, an okay accountant, and an amazing accountant.
Do you think it's because they get bogged down in the day-to-day that they don't, i.e. they're not, because, one of the things I always used to say was accountants, or a lot of business only use 40% of what the software that they've got. And only using another 20% will make you X amount of time more efficient. And with having X amount more time of efficiency, means you could do more. It means you could give those advisory services. And I think it's just because they don't get bogged down, on a day-to-day rather than really giving that advice to their clients. Or they probably only give it to the bigger ones, not everybody, because they don't have the time to give that.
I think that's it. I think there's a lot of time constraints, lack of automation, that happens, and that's why it doesn't get shown. The value doesn't get shown. I'm going to jump into the comments real quick. So Steve Watson has made a comment. Steve Watson: Bern is a modest guy, but influences the success of every team he works within. Anything I achieved at Sage, he would have played a huge part in. Great to see him on the podcast. Really enjoyed the session.
Nice,
mate. That's a very nice thing for someone to say about you. That's fantastic. Steve, thank you for taking the time to watch and listen and even comment, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool. So you've asked a question.
Yep.
Please, you're going to go off in 2 minutes. What's your one bit of nugget of wisdom? It doesn't have to be work related.
No. I think for me is, people say time is money. I say time is value, and this is what Steve Watson said once. And time is what is value to you, and that's what you should get down to. Not just time is money. So, what does value mean to you? And the way we used to position it to accountants was, if I gave you X amount of time, would it be that you just wanted to grow the amount of clients that you have? Would it be grow your revenue? Or would it just be time to take a day off, or to go and play golf, or to spend it with your family? So get away. And people say, money is the root to all evil. That's not the actual phrase. It's the love of money. It's the root to all evil. And
it's biblical.
Yeah. And that's why, look at what value is to you. And for me, in recent times, the kids and so on, and trying to get that back, and the value of time is key. Not time is money.